Yo guys, hey, what's up? It's your boy here, Ken. I'm gonna be doing my review of WrestleMania Night One from the comfort of my bedroom because it's where I watch WrestleMania. So before I get into my review, I gotta say the Peacock app was not was not on my side this evening. I had a lot of technical difficulties with the streaming service. First off, it had a lot of staticky audio that played throughout the duration of the show. I had to watch WrestleMania on mute. Wasn't too much of a big deal because I was watching it simultaneously with two friends in a group chat, as we're all different places or whatever, still practicing social distancing. But everyone was in their own homes, and we were watching it simultaneously in a group chat and talking and whatnot about what was going on as we were watching it. So that didn't hurt too much. But also the fact too that it kept buffering. It buffered a lot during the first match and the Rollins, the first three matches. The first three matches it started to buff, and it buffed so bad that I missed a majority of the WWE Championship match, and that was the one of two matches I wanted to see the most on night one. I also didn't have the fact that despite the main event, and we'll get to that because that was excellent. But I still don't think the WWE title match should have opened the show. I mean, if they wanted to end it with the SmackDown Women's title picture, fine. But I think the WWE title match should have at least been higher up on the card. But anyway, before doing this review, I had to wait for, once the pay per view had ended. Wanted to wait for the replay to air so that I could rewatch the WWE Championship match, because all I got out of that match was Lashley's entrance. They scrapped for like maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and then it just buffed, and then it froze, and then nothing happened, and then I caught like the last like 2 minutes of the conclusion of the match, with Lashley having the stoppage. But I wanted to watch it all over again in its entirety so that I could give this a fair review and a thought process, because I was pissed, and like my two other friends could tell, like I was pissed because that was one of the matches I wanted to see the most, and it looked like it was a pretty fucking good match. Anyway, WrestleMania Night One kicks off with the WWE Championship match: Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre. This was an excellent match. I like this match. Outside of the main event, I would probably say it was my second favorite match of the night. Definitely. This was a good, big powerhouse. Two guys, just pretty much almost throwing everything but the kitchen sink at each other. Even footing, I'd say, going back and forth between them. McIntyre gives Lashley gave him three future shock DDTs in unison back to back. Lashley kicked out because I thought he was going to definitely get it there. Kind of botched a little bit towards the near end where McIntyre attempts a kick, but he misses by Lashley getting out of the way. Excuse me. But there was like a little delayed reaction there, you saw. So it was a little botched there, but nothing detrimental to the match. McIntyre ends up, or Lashley, I think he like pushes him up to the corner turnbuckle, gets him in the hurt lock. He attempted earlier to get him in the hurt lock, failed. Gets him in it the second time near the near end of the match, and McIntyre is fading. Now, in my first watch through, this is where the pay per view kind of stopped buffering a little bit, or this yeah. So in my first watch, saying this, he got him in the second hurt lock. McIntyre tried to get out. McIntyre was fading. Then he like got back up again, and then he started to fade again, and then he just pretty much collapsed. He didn't tap. He collapsed, and you could say he passed out. And ref rang the bell, and I was like, "Fuck yeah!" Now, this was my reaction during the first watch, but I was also kind of pissed because I was like, I missed 90% of this, but I at least caught the end. In my rewatch of this was a really good match. I enjoyed this match. Like I said, just two big bulls, two big guys going at it. To me, it was a little bit of a breath of fresh air outside of, what we see a lot in wrestling with a lot of kicks and flips and a lot of aerobatic stuff. This was a nice change of pace for me personally, and a little bit of a breath of fresh air to have two guys that look like main event killers in Lashley and McIntyre, and they put on a damn good match. For some people, they were like, they didn't think that they would put on a good match. They're like, oh, surprisingly, this match is pretty good. This wasn't a surprise to me at all, because like I said before in my preview or prediction video, McIntyre and Lashley, this ain't their first dance. They've had matches before in TNA, and those were good. They had a match last year at Backlash when McIntyre was champion defending against Lashley, and the match was good. But the only thing most people are going to remember out of that was the crappy storyline with Lana, and Lana like interfering with Lashley in that match. So they have a good match. This was a good kick-ass match. Very surprised by the ending of Lashley winning, because we all thought Lashley was just going to get a 6-month run. There was those murmurs or rumors of McIntyre, of WWE wanting McIntyre to win the title in front of a live audience, in front of the crowd. But they kind of swerved us, and I think a lot of people expected McIntyre to win too, just like even the audience, people in the arena. But they kind of swerved us, and it wouldn't surprise me if I would hear like a couple of days later when this blows over that they changed the results last minute. And if that's the case, hey, I'm all for it. I am 100% behind Lashley as champion. Let him have his run. Let him have his moment. He said himself he's not going to be doing this any much longer at 44, 45 years old. So let him have his moment. Let him have his run. You get another new main event star out of Lashley that you're investing in. We got McIntyre last year. We get Lashley this year. Let's continue that momentum and make some new stars. Loved it. Next match we had was Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. This was a great match. This was a fun match. Cesaro, you could say this is quite possibly the biggest match of his career to date. Unless he gets a title match at some point for the heavyweight title. Doubt it, but whatever. This was a great match. I love the little promo that they did before the match. It was like a paid advertisement of Rollins had on Cesaro. I thought it was fucking hilarious and saying like, hey, this advertisement was paid by Seth Rollins' friends or something like that. I thought that was funny. But Rollins put Cesaro over. Cesaro beat McIntyre. Sorry, not McIntyre. Beat Seth Rollins. Cesaro beat Seth Rollins. Got the pin and the win. Good match. Good result. Next, we had the tag team battle royal or whatever contender. I didn't really care about this. I checked out mentally with this match. But Natty and whoever, I can't think of it, Tamina, they won. Fast forward to that, we get the tag team title match. We had the AJ Styles and Omos versus New Day for the Raw tag team titles. This was okay. Omos, you can tell, was definitely green as grass. He was only in the match for like maybe 4 or 5 minutes. Nothing more than that. But, they played their strengths. And that was just him just being a tall dude, taking hits and dishing them out as well. He pinned Kingston. He pinned Kofi Kingston. And AJ Styles and Omos are your new Raw tag team champions. So there's that. Fast forward, but more gold for AJ. It's an accolade, something that he hasn't won, being in WWE for like 5 years now. So good for him in that regard. Next, we get the Shane McMahon and Shane McMahon and Braun Strowman match. This feud was trash. The match itself was entertaining. It was entertaining. Um, Braun just looked like a complete like physically the dude is like a monster, and it's just like I still say to myself, and I like Braun, I'm a fan of Braun Strowman, but I just still say to myself, like, how do you take a guy like this, you look at him and you just book him like a goof, or you just like fucked up with his booking like so many times. Like, this dude is a legitimate like walking behemoth. He is a monster. He is a special attraction where like you bring in a Braun Strowman, you put him in a room, everyone's gonna look at him because he stands out. How do you continue just to mess up his booking or book him like a goof? Like, I don't understand it. Despite that, he had an entertaining match with Shane McMahon. I'm getting kind of concerned for Shane. Shane seems really bloated and just out of breath. I know a lot of people say Goldberg gets gassed quickly. Shane McMahon, I think, gets gassed the moment he walks out, and the moment he walks out of his entrance, he's like already he's Shane is gassed when he's in gorilla position. I mean, he's already just gassed out. Um, I think I think he needs to kind of like slow it down a bit. But yeah, it kind of looked like Shane was gonna win, as he legitimately like he knocked Braun in the head with a toolkit or toolbox. He climbs out from outside the ring, or attempts to climb outside on the other side of the ring. Braun Strowman grabs him by the hand. I'm saying to myself, like, dude, you just got smacked in the dome with a toolbox. I wasn't very fond of that spot at all. I'll be honest with you, because if you get smacked with the toolbox, I mean, at that point, Shane had the match. He could have just dropped from half of where he was standing in the on the cage. But Braun rips like he rips like a wall of the cage like open like a sardine can, pulls Shane through it, and beats the hell out of him. Tosses him from top of the cage, comes down, gives him the power slam, wins, and that's it. I hope we're done with this. I don't. I mean, like I said, the match itself was entertaining, but I don't want this match to continue. And Shane McMahon needs to go back and retire from wrestling, because yeah. Anyway, entertaining match. Next we had Bad Bunny and Damian Priest versus Miz and Morrison. I'm not the biggest fan of celebrity, matches or whatever. Bad Bunny, I know, has trained for months. He is a legitimate fan, so it's not like schmo blows, celebrity coming in to get their paycheck. But he actually likes the business and actually cares about wrestling because he is a legitimate fan and he actually put in the work. He had a very long entrance. Surprising, he had a pretty grand entrance to be a celebrity involved in a wrestling match, so that was kind of shocking. But all I'll just say with this here was that this had its moments of entertainment. Bad Bunny didn't embarrass himself, so I think that's the biggest thing I could say coming out of this match, is that he didn't embarrass himself. He didn't look out of place. Miz and Morrison helped him look good, and he did great. And Damian Priest did great, and Priest and Bad Bunny won. So there's that. Fast forward onto the main event: Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair. This was an excellent main event. Going into this pay-per-view, when they announced recently that this was going to be the main event over Lashley McIntyre, I was a little apprehensive. I'm like, really? I don't know. Because the build, not to say that they wouldn't have a good match, but the build to the Sasha Banks and Belair match wasn't really that hot. It started off hot and had some potential, and then they just kind of went different avenues, and it kind of just turned the feud lukewarm. So at that point, I was like, and not to say that Lashley and Bobby's match, I mean, Lashley's and McIntyre's build was any better. In fact, that might have been the worst build of the two title matches. But I just thought, but whatever the case, I'm glad that they made this the main event because they delivered. Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks absolutely delivered. Before the match even started, they were kind of somewhat out of character because they just the emotions, like they were there, they were the emotions. This is the first time that two African American women are headlining a WrestleMania main event for the title. Second, you could say second women's main event, WrestleMania main event ever in history. The first one being the triple threat with Charlotte, Becky, and Ronda Rousey a couple years ago. So this would be the second. So they made history, twice, by being there. So definitely that the audience, like it was a moment. Like before Bianca even won the title, just that little moment of sincerity, I guess you could say. Like that was a WrestleMania moment. Um, Excellent match. These girls were not sloppy. These girls were not botchy. Um, and Sasha Banks is a good wrestler, but sometimes depending on who she's in the ring with and whatnot, Sasha can have some botch moments. I would say she can have some botch moments, but there were none to be found. Um, I can't even explain like what's some spots that they really had. I mean, there's a lot of back and forth. Bianca with the forward flip on the top turnbuckle was incredible. Um, Sasha Banks with the dive and Bianca, picks her up and carries her. Not that Sasha Banks is heavy anyway. She's about like 115 pounds, but still, um, I mean, just everything. I mean, the reversals. It was a really good match, and then you get towards the climax where she whips her with her hair, and that I did hear. The audio was kind of still shitty on the streaming service, but I could hear that whip, and it sounded like some Django Unchained type of like whip. You heard that pop. She pops her. Sasha tries to reverse. Bianca exchanges with another reverse, gets her back up into her finisher, slams her, pins her. 1, 2, 3. The crowd is elated. I popped. It was a moment. It was a moment, and they pan the camera back to Sasha, and you can just see like the whelps and whips from that hair strike all on the rib cage of Sasha Banks. I'm very curious to look at photos or something that they may post on WWE.com or Sasha's own personal Instagram because that shit looked like it hurt. Um, but Bianca Belair, new SmackDown Women's Champion, right call, right choice, WrestleMania moment. All in all, night one of WrestleMania, I would say was entertaining. It was. I said in my previews for both nights that despite the lack of build, everyone's been saying that it doesn't feel like WrestleMania. The builds have been terrible. They've been kind of crappy. WrestleMania doesn't feel the same anymore. And I even said this. I said, look, I'm with you guys. The build for WrestleMania this year, it sucked. But from my experience from a couple of WrestleManias, despite the build being trash, when you set your expectations low, you come out of the pay-per-view, you end up enjoying the pay-per-view a lot better. But because that's how it was at WrestleMania 31. 31's build was trash. But watching that pay-per-view and coming out of WrestleMania 31, it ended up being one of the best WrestleManias we had in recent memory. WrestleMania 33, I think, as well as another one. 33 or 35. I say the same could be said for night one. Despite the lack in build, despite some of the matches kind of, this was an entertaining night for WrestleMania. It was energizing, and I got to give credit to the fans because having fans back to some capacity, it really helped the show. It helped the show be overall enjoyable. So shout out to Vince for bringing in fans. It sucks that after WrestleMania they're gonna go back to the Thunderdome and there won't be a live attendance. We won't know when they can have a live attendance again until sometime as maybe as late as July. I think AEW is even looking at somewhere around there too, June or July. So it's definitely gonna suck to go from going from no fans for a whole year and a half, or year like 14 months, to having 25,000 in attendance, to going right back to no fans again for like another 3 months after Sunday. It's gonna suck, but definitely, I would definitely say some credit goes to having in attendance today, because it really helped the show overall. I had a nice time watching this. I think night two is definitely going to be better, because I think the card is just more filled, and there's more matches that I think has more potential than night one. So I'm definitely looking forward to night two. But tonight definitely delivered. I would even say the main event tonight between Bianca and Sasha was better than the triple threat main event that we had between Becky, Charlotte, and Ronda. That might be a controversial opinion, but I'm going to just go out and say it. That triple threat that we had between Ronda, that triple threat was only placed for one reason, because they had Ronda Rousey, and they wanted to make history by it being the first, women main event WrestleMania spot. That's the only reason why that triple threat main event at that year's WrestleMania. Once Ronda had her run or ran her course, which they said she's going to be coming back soon anyway, like, that was it. So once WWE pushed their, I don't want to say their agenda, but their motive, it was a wrap. Tonight, I think, despite the lack of build, the match was great. The story was there. The payoff was amazing. This, if I had to compare both women's WrestleMania main events, tonight's main event, much more enjoyable, match quality wise, emotionally, investment, and payoff wise. Well, the payoff for Becky was really great, because everyone wanted Becky, so I'll retract from that statement. But definitely the match quality, and it was just an overall better women's WrestleMania main event in comparison to that triple threat that we had a couple years ago. Didn't mean to make this video as long as it was, but I mean, hey, it's WrestleMania, baby. It's the Super Bowl for wrestling, so more matches, more stuff to get into, more stuff to talk about, longer video. You guys let me know what you think about night one of WrestleMania. I'm going to be doing night two review tomorrow. What do you guys think? I want to hear your thoughts in the box below. Comment, subscribe. Peace out.